Hey guys, Alex here. Just chilling in one of my favourite spots in Tallinn, Estonia on a beautiful spring day. It's finally kind of here, I hope, spring. Nice warm day. And just wanted to give you guys an update on my zero caffeine journey. I know that several of you have expressed a lot of interest in my caffeine trip. And it's been over 7 months. As of today, I quit in the middle of September 23. And I decided to go completely off caffeine, apart from the occasional bit of chocolate here and there, because I do like my chocolate. That's not going, and I know that's got a little bit of caffeine in it, and I'm also drinking occasional cups of decaf, but apart from that, zero caffeine in any form. No green tea, no black tea, no coffee. Over 7 months. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about that journey, why I did it, what's happening in the moment for me. I have quit a few times for 2 or 3 months at a time, went back on the wagon each time over the last 3 years or so. And my main reason for wanting to quit is really sleep. So I know that when I'm on coffee, and I was drinking maybe 2 or 3 cups, flat whites every day type thing, so not massive amounts, but I was quite affected by it. I was noticing I'm quite sensitive to stimulants in general, and found myself pretty notably affected by coffee. And I've been drinking coffee for over, 15 years. And it was affecting my sleep. I found myself waking up in the middle of the night too often, wasn't really getting quality sleep, and was curious about what other people had been saying about their no caffeine journey, about how their sleep had improved and how they were dreaming better. So I decided to quit based on improvement around sleep, but also just general anxiety, and still feeling enough anxiety in the day, especially around, slightly more nerve-wracking events and talking to people on the phone and stuff. And as a coach, I've always had a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nerves, but it never really felt like it had properly drifted away. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna get on the zero caffeine thing. I'd also been learning about how it kind of can age you more rapidly and that kind of stuff. And you might want to look into some of the reasons people who go off caffeine say that they go off caffeine. Anti-aging, so it can apparently speed up the aging process, which I don't like the idea of. Obviously, if you're getting less sleep on caffeine, that's going to do that anyway. Anxiety, also sort of just feeling more frustrated when I was on caffeine, getting angry quite quickly, that kind of thing. So I wanted to see what it was like to get off it and just not have to rely on external things to feel better as well. I noticed that I was getting reliant on caffeine and coffee to feel good and to kind of get the day going every morning. I thought, feels good. I love the coffee high. I found it was really helpful for my writing, and I would be buzzing with ideas, and it really gave me a much needed creativity boost, at least it felt like. And it became a very close companion to my work as a writer. I do a lot of writing, and I was finding myself very heavily reliant really, on my daily cups of coffee to feel good, to get ideas. And I didn't really like that idea. I didn't really like the idea that I was reliant on a stimulant to feel good and to be creative. I wanted to see if there was a way through to be as creative, if not more, because I'd been hearing a lot of good stuff about how actually coffee might not be the golden elixir that we all think it is that makes us more effective. In fact, it might even be making a lot of us less effective. And the reason for that is because caffeine tends to put you in a fight or flight mode, releasing stress hormone. That's what's happening, because when you look into what caffeine is, it's a plant poison. And when you ingest a plant poison, your body reacts to that invasive species, essentially, that's in your body, and it reacts with making you more alert and releasing stress hormone, which isn't great for the body. And it actually makes you zone in, I suppose, on less, but you become less effective because your brain is no longer able to make those connections that happens when you're more creative, more relaxed. And I was looking for that added creativity boost that comes from a more open frame of mind. So I gave it up, and don't listen to all those guys who say it takes, it's like a week of some feeling a bit depressed and a bit low to get over that hump, because there are withdrawals. It is, after all, a drug. You need to view caffeine as a drug that most of us are addicted to. and it does take some pushing back once you've given it up to get through the withdrawal phase, which certainly was there. I had quit a few times in the past, so I never really experienced like horrific withdrawals that some people claim they do. But I felt sluggish and slow for a while. But in all honesty, it took months. It was one of the hardest 3-4 months, I would say, of my recent memory. Not that I was just deeply depressed and really struggling. It was just a sort of flatness that wasn't there before when I had the coffee to rely on. I always had that dopamine boost that I could rely on to feel better and to feel more creative, and that had been grabbed out of the picture. No longer there. So for many weeks, many months, I had to sit at my desk in the morning where, compared to previous months, I would get straight into my writing with a cup of coffee and be fine, but it would be very just unpleasant in that I was totally flat, totally uncreative for weeks, months, unable to do much work. And I wasn't completely out of it because I was able to continue on my stuff. I was able to write still, but it was always a sort of flat, disinterested state, which was a bit disappointing and a bit worrying for a while. But I'd say like it took me, in all honesty, probably about 5 months to really get through the withdrawal, and I probably am still going through some because caffeine can be a hell of an addictive and influential, impactful drug that people don't even realize. And for some people it can take years even, if it's really, because it's not just about what the chemical does and what it does when it releases. It's about your psychological attachment and how so many things in your life have to change because your whole physicality, your whole perspective has changed because of the shifting of this habit. So a lot has to kind of you have to adapt in many ways to a new way of life, really, and it's a slow process. And so things have improved, but that kind of high that everyone's looking for with a cup of coffee doesn't really come. It doesn't really get replaced because it's a drug giving you a stimulation. So that high that we get with a cup of joe, you don't really get it with as much intensity, but you do feel better in general. I feel way more relaxed. I'm sleeping incredibly better. I get solid dreams every night. I'm much more calm. Most of my anxiety is gone. And I was expecting it to go because I've done it a few times before. As soon as the coffee's gone, anxiety just way down. So that's a huge reason if you've got anxiety to get rid of the caffeine. It goes very closely hand in hand. But then you've got to make some other adaptations. You need to, for example, expect that your working sessions, if you were previously reliant on coffee to feel good and creative, you're not going to get that high that you once did. You're not going to get that kind of buzz, that explosion of ideas, because it's a massively powerful stimulant, and you don't get that anymore. So you have to kind of approach work in a different way, and I've had to learn that over the last few weeks, which is that you're going to sit down without bouncing around the walls. You're going to be feeling a lot calmer, but you're going to have to be conscious enough to lean into work without relying on an external push. It's kind of coming from you. You have to find the motivation from within, essentially, and that it's a new experience because it's a slower process. It's a slower kind of form of motivation. Everything's a lot more calm and peaceful. So you've just got to adapt to that new way, and I'm slowly but surely adapting to that. I'm also finding that even though it feels as if I'm being way less productive these days, for some reason my brain is telling me I'm being less productive because I'm more calm, I'm more peaceful. But I'm actually, when I look back over the day, I'm getting a ton more done than I used to when I was in coffee. It's just that coffee kind of tricks you into this illusion, making you think that you've got a ton done. But if you look back at what you did, you were just sort of bouncing around, just sort of scrolling endlessly without realizing it, and calling it research when it was just a waste of time, really. So lots of improvements, and a lot of them are subtle. It's very difficult to explain them, but a lot of good things happens. I can barely talk today. A lot of good happens when you slow down and when you eradicate unnecessary anxiety and jitters out of your life. you start to make better decisions. You start to find yourself more energized through a more stable kind of energy through the day as well. So I'm finding myself able to more easily work in the evenings if I wanted to. I don't have that crash in the middle of the day that says, sorry mate, work's out for the day. So I'm realizing that I'm already over 10 minutes and there's so much I could say on this, but lots of improvements, anxiety gone. I mean, that alone is a massive enough reason to have quit and to make me want to stay off caffeine. I still get to enjoy the occasional decaf and so on, and I'm still okay with that. I'm still under control. But for those of you thinking of doing the same, especially if you've got anxiety or you find yourself kind of feeling a bit weird on caffeine, because it is a powerful drug for many, especially for sensitive types like you and I, it's going to take a bit of work initially. It does take a bit of adaptation and overcoming withdrawals and overcoming a process of kind of rewiring the mind to not only detach from the chemical itself, but also a new way of thinking, a new way of life. You kind of become a whole different person. Because who were you when you were on caffeine? You were much more reliant on an external substance to be who you are. But if you're off that, you're essentially a different person. You're the real you when you're off that. I'm not to say that I'm perfect now and everything's hunky-dory. There are other habits that I could probably improve in life and that kind of thing too. Still on sugar, for example, which could go. But it is worth it, because now I don't have to worry about this other thing that's essentially dominating my life. It really is, or was, a big feature of my life, and I didn't realize how much it was essentially controlling my decisions. Just like with any addiction, really. I'm not telling you to quit caffeine if you enjoy it. I miss it a lot, to be honest, because there's no doubt that there is a lot of fun that can be had with caffeine. It is essentially a recreational drug that everyone uses every morning, and it's socially acceptable. And because of that, it kind of gets disguised as the powerful drug that it is, but it is a lot of fun. It's like a kind of low-grade cocaine, and I miss that. I miss that buzz that I would have off that, and the explosion of ideas that would come. But that's not to say that my ideas are all gone now. They're there, and I'm more productive, and it just takes that extra little bit of, I would say, consciousness to kind of remind yourself and align yourself with what you're capable of, which is that you can do work, you can create things when you're not buzzing, you can create when you're at peace. It feels a bit awkward at first, and I'm still getting used to it. It still doesn't feel quite right that I can be calm before I sit down to write an article. I was so reliant for so many years on needing to feel jittery, a bit crack fiendy, and a bit on edge to be productive. That's just not a requirement, and I'm getting used to that. So expect it to take a while. For some people it takes months and months. For me it took 5 months to really feel like I was kind of no longer just bored with everything, and really lacking motivation, and also just seeing everything as a sort of grey pool of nothingness. Life just didn't seem very interesting for a long time. That's to be expected. It takes a while, and give it time. Honor your body, honor what you want for yourself in the future, and know that that's going to take a bit of a kind of sacrifice to kind of get yourself back. But you'll still be functional, and it's okay. You just lose that zest for a bit, and for some of you it might take a lot less. So I have a feeling that I took way longer than most, because perhaps I was more impacted by coffee and caffeine than others. I know that it's quite a strong drug. I certainly felt it for years, but I enjoyed it. What else to say on caffeine? Still going strong. I'll check in again in a few more months on the caffeine thing. And if you've got any questions on it, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.